Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be checking out Alberta and Saskatchewan drop major 51st and 52nd state announcement by Canadian Zone here on YouTube, guys. Yes, if you guys haven't been paying attention to Canadian politics, I'm sure you guys have heard about it here over in the US. Canada has a bit of a Wexit problem, it seems, going on. Yes, Alberta, Saskatchewan, even parts of BC, I believe, do want to succeed from Canada. It's really no wonder why, given the past 10 years of liberal leadership, with carbon taxes being enacted on the Canadian people, with the complete agreements of the Paris Accords and the whole climate agenda nonsense that we tend to see nowadays. Here in Canada, we keep our environment very clean. We have ways of exporting our natural resources in a very efficient manner. I'm not going to say it's 100% fucking carbon neutral, right? But it's pretty much as close as you can get, given what we need, right, resource-wise, and we still need these resources, so it makes no sense to stifle Canadian business, Canadian economy, and our natural resource export when we still rely on these resources. We still very much need it, that big one being, of course, oil, right? So what do we do instead? We buy it from the Saudis or we buy it from Russia, right? Doesn't really make any sense. They don't really give a shit about the environment either. You think they're doing it in a climate what's the word, an environmentally safe way? Like, no, they're not. They don't give a fuck. It's just nobody cares because you're not seeing it, right? The problem's over there, it's not over here, right? Therefore it's fine, even though we're gonna waste our money and buy it from a country that hates us. It doesn't really make much sense. So without any further delay, guys, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe for more content from me, of course, leave your recommendations down in the comments below, and without any further delay, let's get right into this. We're gonna leave a like, captions should be on quality 1080p full screen. Without any further delay, guys, let's get it. I'm gonna let them talk mostly. I'll interject here and there when I need to, but I'm gonna mostly let them take the floor and we'll talk about it after.
Alberta and Saskatchewan just dropped a political earthquake announcing they are exploring the path to becoming the 51st and 52nd states of the United States.
Right.
For years, frustration has been building. We know this in the West. Frustration over Ottawa's control of energy policy, over pipelines, stalling at the border, and even federal leaders like Mark Carney, who lecture provinces about climate targets while blocking the very industries that are keeping families employed and sending a whole lot of money east. So now that frustration has reached its end, it sounds like, and this is more than just talk in a coffee shop or a half-serious idea tossed around at town halls.
The Alberta Next panel was in Lloydminster last night for the 5th of 10 in-person town halls discussing what Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says are grievances potentially inspiring a separatist sentiment. The panel is looking for input on how to push back against Ottawa. Alberta separation and mass deportations led the discussion amongst the more than 300 people at the event. The panel highlighted 6 policy ideas, including a provincial police force to replace the RCMP and adopting an Alberta pension plan over the CPP. Tonight's event, or the event, had attendees on both sides of the fence, similar to previous town halls.
I will say the talk of their own provincial police force, that's not that insane. I'm surprised they haven't made a push for that sooner. Ontario has their own police force, OPP, right? Yeah, that's not that radical, I don't think. Good for them. Good for them. And they want to get rid of the RCMP. RCMP, of course, being federal police. Yeah, I can respect that. Yeah.
Attendees on both sides of the fence, similar to previous town halls.
My sense is that a plurality of Albertans are already committed to voting yes to leaving. Don't wait for the people of Alberta to force your government to schedule a referendum.
The people want it over there. That's the thing.
For the Alberta Next panel, as they will be in Medicine Hat.
Both Alberta Premier Danielle Smith and Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe have confirmed they're actively studying what statehood could look like the trade benefits, which would be obvious right now, the pipeline access, and the chance to finally set policy without Ottawa standing in the way. And tonight, that conversation has moved from quiet speculation to headline news. When news of Alberta and Saskatchewan's statehood exploration broke, Ottawa's reaction was instant, like as if they just got shot in the foot. And it was a rather furious reaction. Federal officials were caught completely off guard for weeks. Mark Carney and his guard and inner circle have been reassuring allies that the Western frustration, it can be managed.
No,
it'll be fine.
No.
And in one
No, see, the thing is, right, is people are fucking fed up. They're fed up of liberal leadership in this country. They're fed up of what the liberals have done here. And that's what people need to start realizing, right? The people voting for the left here, like, you guys are burying your head in the sand to like the actual problems, that the grievances of half the fucking country. Like, and it's not even like it's not even like it's a provincial thing. Like it's mixed sentiment in every single province right now. Like, you will find people in Ontario, lots of people in Ontario, that are sharing this exact same sentiment right now of, what the fuck are we doing here in Canada? Why are we still here? You know what I mean? Like, why are we allowing this to happen to our country? You know? And that's the thing. I think the damage is kind of, and I think a lot of people, it's unfortunate to say, would agree with this. I think the damage to an extent is almost irreparable with what's happened here. You know, our money is completely tanked. That's going to take decades to get back to the way it was at our current rate, with the gatekeeping of our economy and the gatekeeping of our of the climate, I guess, you know, in a sense. You know, building shit in Canada is not easy. It never has been for some reason. The price of all of our natural resources has gone up. The cost of timber has gone up drastically. It's impossible to build anything. Like, nobody can afford to live here anymore. Nobody can really afford to what's the word? People my age don't see a future here. It's not affordable. You know what I mean? It's literally not affordable. Even at a wage of like $25 an hour, which used to be a fantastic wage, you know, 10, 15 years ago, it won't get you anything nowadays. Not when a house is $500,000, $700,000. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate to say, but yes, like, if the West succeeds, they don't have to ship all of their shit across Canada, and they can sell it directly to the United States or trade it and be included in the U.S. economic policy. Yeah, obvious benefits right away.
Assuring allies that the Western frustration, you know, it can be managed. It'll be fine. And in one press conference, that illusion collapsed.
Saskatchewan, with a significant number of people that did not support the Liberal Party of Canada,
Crazy.
that the Prime Minister would be reaching out and attempting to work with the province. That's our focus. That's our goal, is to work alongside him and to offer him some opportunities.
Saskatchewan does have referendum legislation already in place that allows citizens to present petitions, and the Premier says that his government would honor it should it ever happen.
In Parliament, Liberal and NDP MPs rushed to microphones, calling the announcement reckless, dangerous, and even un-Canadian. Behind closed doors, staffers are admitting what they had long feared. The West is just not bluffing. They're serious.
Un-Canadian is crazy, right? They're as true to the traditional Canadians as they get. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, our previous Prime Minister openly spewed that Canada doesn't have a culture. You know, and he was adamant about that. And then, you know, let's import 8 million people over the course of 10 years. Like, doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? They are as culturally Canadian as they get over there in the West, right? Strongest ties to our roots as Canada, right? From where we come from. You know, and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people in Ontario, there's a lot of people in every other province that share that exact same sentiment, but it doesn't mean anything when, you know, all the seats are in the cities, and it makes no difference, you know, how we vote. That's the problem, right? So again, if they want to seek their own path, and they're still heritage wise, I think they're more Canadian than anywhere else right nowadays. Sucks to say, but it's true.
What they had long feared. The West is just not bluffing. They're serious, and this is more than just another round of angry rhetoric or symbolic resolutions. Alberta means this, and Saskatchewan also made a coordinated move, one that forced Ottawa to confront the reality that its grip on Confederation is slipping.
Yes.
Mark Carney, who has tried to present himself as a calm, technical leader, now finds himself painted as the face of a central government out of touch, losing control.
Completely out of touch.
Unable to really convince and connect with resource-producing provinces. His insistence on doubling down on carbon taxes and emission caps is not helping. It's being cited by Western leaders as the breaking point.
Yeah.
For Ottawa, the risk is no longer just theory. If the provinces are serious, Canada's political map could change forever. For years, Alberta and Saskatchewan have warned that Ottawa's energy policies are strangling their economies. Carbon taxes, pipeline cancellations, and export bottlenecks are piling up, and billions in oil and gas revenue is gone. Farmers saw fertilizer restrictions tying just as global demand was at its peak.
Yep.
Trucking and manufacturing faced higher costs while investment dollars steadily flowed south into the United States. The breaking point came this summer, when Washington quietly signaled it was open to direct negotiations with provinces on energy and trade. For Alberta and Saskatchewan, this was the opening they had been waiting for. If Ottawa's not going to secure their interests, they would go directly to the table themselves. Mark Carney is now stuck with the same policies that many blame for causing this crisis. His push for climate targets and strict rules might sound nice in Toronto and Montreal, but in the...
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's always the people in the inner cities here, like specifically in Ontario, that are utterly out of touch with how the rest of Canada is. They've never been outside of Ontario. Fuck, they've never been outside of Toronto. You know what I mean? They don't know, they don't even know what the environment looks like anywhere else, you know, besides fucking concrete. That's sad. You know what I'm saying? You got no idea. So stop fucking trying to speak for all Canadians. And it's embarrassing too, because these people on occasion, they travel out of country, you know, because a lot of these people are better off, right? They have decent jobs, let's call it, you know, because they live in the city, or, you know, I've had the pleasure of knowing, you know, people my age who have rich parents and now they're completely fucking spoiled, never left the city, right? They'll travel overseas, right? And, they just make jokes of themselves because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They speak about Canada as if they know. It's like, bro, you have no idea, you know? Yeah, utterly out of touch, is what I'm going to say half the country is. And that's the thing. It's less than half the country. It's the popular vote, man. The popular vote has swung conservative in this country time and time again for, I think, the last like 3 elections. And, you know, it's just insane. Like it doesn't mean anything.
For climate targets and strict rules might sound nice in Toronto and Montreal, but in the prairies, it looks like he's holding the economy back and hostage. Leaders in Edmonton and Regina warn that if things don't change soon, young people will be left with a weak economy while the U.S. keeps moving along, and that's why the provinces moved now.
We're already left with a weak economy.
Now about survival in a global energy market where standing still means death and falling behind.
The new Prime Minister is a whole new level of climate zealot and eco-extremist. From his decades-long push for net zero banking that sought to make it impossible for banks to invest in oil and gas, to his promise now to massively increase carbon taxes on our industry, make no mistake, he wants to eviscerate our oil and gas industry. It's right in his book. In Canada, our national identity, unity, our freedom, and our future are at a monumental crossroads.
In Washington, the announcement was met with a mix of surprise and interest. You see, for years, U.S. officials have quietly watched Western Canada's growing frustration with Ottawa, and the American energy market depends on steady access to Alberta's oil and Saskatchewan's uranium and potash. Any disruption in that supply chain has ripple effects across industries, from refineries in the Midwest to farms in the Great Plains. Sources close to the U.S. Trade Committee say Prairie leaders have already held informal talks with governors in border states. The message is clear. America is willing to listen. With U.S. shale oil production leveling off, America is looking for steady supplies of energy and food, and that's why Alberta and Saskatchewan are starting to look really sweet right now as valuable partners in oil and uranium. Especially in some circles, the idea of them joining the U.S. states is not dismissed as impossible anymore.
My message to...
And it would be entirely beneficial to the Americans too, to have, you know, 2 extra provinces, 2 extra states join America, right? Again, these are 2 of our biggest resource exporting provinces here in Canada, right? They are rich. The jobs there are some of the best jobs you'll get in Canada because they have to do with our natural resource sector. And it makes zero fucking sense why we are placing restrictions on that. Why we are actively like bending over as Canadians and just allowing our bank accounts to be rifled through. Like, that's what it is. You guys don't seem to realize, like, you know, every time a carbon tax is placed on an industry, right, that has a ripple effect across how much everything fucking costs. And when it's oil, right, that's the food you eat, right? That's your gas at the pumps, but that's the food you eat because that's transport costs of everything. You know, it makes no sense. Like, I don't know how these people can't critically think this through and realize, like, oh my God, why is everyone so happy? Why is everything so expensive? Why is our economy so weak? I don't know, man, use your fucking head, open your eyes, and start listening to like what people are telling you. Like, that's all it is, right? Like, and again, I don't even see myself as like a conservative necessarily. It's just like, this is a very fucking common sense issue that I think a lot of the older generation, that's what it is. It is a lot of the older generation who have imparted their values upon their children, but that's way less so. A lot of people my age are a lot more conservative minded than we're liberal, right? And that's not the way it was 15 years ago, you know. But whatever. Let's keep going.
Is not dismissed as impossible anymore.
My message to Ottawa is that federal politicians, and the Prime Minister in particular, should do his job and stop trying to do my job. That's what the message is. And I don't know if Premier Higgs would said the same thing, but when we meet as premiers, the really interesting thing is it doesn't matter whether it's NDP or Liberal or Progressive Conservative or UCP or Saskatchewan Party. We all come from different parties and different perspectives, but we are united in that the federal government should stay focused on the things which they need to do. There's lots of things they need to do. When you see in Alberta that we are going to take a posture more like Quebec, which is no thank you, we don't need your policy advice on school lunch programs, on pharmacare, on dental care, that is just give us the money and trust that we'll be able to deliver on this. That's the approach that we're going to take, and we're going to be pretty vocal about doing so.
Critics say Washington would never support such a big step, but history shows the U.S. often puts its own interests first. If the prairies can promise stability, investment, and a steady flow of energy, the push for closer ties will be really tough to brush aside. For Alberta and Saskatchewan, the interest from Washington is adding weight to their announcement and raises the stakes for Ottawa, and in Ottawa, the reaction is immediate and rather fierce. Prime Minister Carney called the announcement reckless and accused Alberta and Saskatchewan of undermining the Federation. His office released a statement within hours warning that no province has the authority to unilaterally alter its constitutional status. Well, behind closed doors, however, officials admit Carney is facing a tough situation. His government is already stretched thin, juggling trade disputes with the United States and growing discontent in Quebec. He knows the numbers. If those provinces leave, Ottawa loses billions in federal revenue, not to mention control over the energy lifeline that funds much of the country. That's not just bad politics. That's financial doomsday for Canada. So he's stuck trying to play both sides, preaching national unity to Eastern voters while quietly struggling to keep the West from bolting. Carney has built his reputation on showing Canada a safe, stable place, secure, a good place for investment. But the push from the prairies goes against that image. If investors start to think Alberta and Saskatchewan are leaving, like Canada risks a massive change overnight. For Carney, that's the real red line. It's not just politics, it's about economic survival. And yet, the more he keeps pushing, the more Ottawa pushes back, the more it feeds independence movements. And the claims, that the prairies are going to be better off charting their own course. And across Alberta and Saskatchewan, you can feel the buzz. In Red Deer, farmers are sitting around the co-op table talking about how Ottawa has tied their hands for years with fuel restrictions, fertilizer rules, and endless red tape. Yep. And now the idea of joining the U.S. isn't some wild fantasy.
And again, that's an issue. That's not just a Western issue. That's an issue that farmers here in Ontario have too. It's farmers everywhere, right? That's what I mean. Like you might think it's all of Ontario because of just how many fucking people live in the cities. It's not, man. Like it's really not, it's basically anyone that doesn't live in, okay, I won't say everyone. I would say 60 to 65% of people that don't live in the cities are probably voting conservative. I would honestly probably say that right now, or of a conservative mind. Now, they might not even see themselves as conservative, but they're saying these exact same fucking things. You know what I'm saying? Again, that's what I mean. Open your fucking eyes, Canada. Like, see what's happening.
Rules and endless red tape, and now the idea of joining the U.S. isn't.
We have a problem of bending over and taking it here in this country.
For them, it's about finally having leaders who see their land and their work as something that strengthens instead of being a problem. Truck drivers and oil patch crews say the same thing. Most of their paychecks already depend on U.S. markets, not federal programs in Ottawa. So they cross the border so often it feels more familiar than anything they get from the capital. To them, calling Alberta and Saskatchewan the 51st and 52nd states is just putting words to a reality they have lived for years. So that doesn't mean everybody is sold on it. In Regina, students worry about losing Canada's healthcare system. Indigenous leaders openly ask what happens to treaties and land rights if the prairies break away. Now, these voices make it clear the road wouldn't be simple, but at the end of the day, there's a feeling that something bigger is happening. After decades of being ignored, prairie people are finally daring to think differently about their future. In Washington, the idea of Alberta and Saskatchewan joining the Union is exciting. I mean, why wouldn't it be? The U.S. would instantly gain two energy powerhouses with some of the largest in oil gas reserves in the world.
Literally.
On top of what the U.S. already has. And that means more energy independence, more security, and less reliance on hostile regions abroad. For an American worried about global instability, that's a big deal.
And I have to say, too, like, Canada should be one of the richest countries in the world per capita, right? Our population isn't that high, even with the mass immigration that we've been seeing. It's not that high. We have the potential to fucking have money in this country. We have the potential to have our economy be one of the best in the world. And it was in open competition with the US prior to the Liberals taking power in 2015. That's what I mean. Like, our dollar was literally worth more than yours was. And it's like, what the fuck happened? And that's the problem. Like, I started working. I was able to start taking a wage legally, right? Basically just when the Liberals took power, right? So I think I was in high school, but I was on my second job when that happened. And at that point, in 3 years time, like, our dollar dropped to 70 cents, or sorry, not 70, 80 cents, and then 70 cents is what it's at now. I think it's at 73 right now. Exactly. But yeah. So it's like, for the entire time I've been working as an adult, I've been taking like a 70 cents to the dollar wage of, like, my brother, for example, who's 10 years older than me. You know what I mean? And who has his own house. And like, it shows just how fucking much that is that difference is, you know? It's fucking crazy. And like, I don't know, whatever. Not to sound salty, but goddamn.
An American worried about global instability, that's a big deal. For America at large, that's huge. The debate has shifted. Instead of asking if Alberta and Saskatchewan should leave Canada, more and more people are asking how. And that's all that I have for you today, guys, from us here at the Zone Media Network. I'm Griffin, your host. Feel free to head on over to American Zone for all the latest American news, where you'll see me there also at times. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.
Damn. That was good. That was good. I really liked that piece. It talked about the issues pretty well. I explained it in a decent manner. Basically, yeah, brought some more notice to the problems that they are having. Now, that announcement that they made, that is kind of a big deal. But it's not surprising to me. Like, they want to have their own policy. They don't want the East interfering in their policy anymore, because it's a waste of fucking time, pure and simple, and it has been for them. And it's very understandable. You know, I'm right there with you, Alberta. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. You know, we in Ontario have to deal with a lot of the same bullshit, and it's made the middle income in Canada really not feel like the middle income anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it almost doesn't exist, is what it feels like. It's either you're well off or you're just kind of doing it. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it is. And it's very depressing. That prospect, especially living here in the future, right? So we'll see what happens, of course. You know, I will say, please keep your borders open if you guys go that route. Please keep your borders open to Canadian citizens. You know, let us fucking move there. If you guys are gonna go that route, come on, man. Don't leave us hanging. Don't leave us hanging. That's all I ask. But yes, if you guys enjoyed the reaction, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe for more content from me, of course. Leave your recommendations down in the comments below. And big thank you to all of our members, all of our Hastati, our Triarii, our Principe, Dagenhart, and of course our Prefect, Hobbit. I appreciate you guys. You guys inspire me to make more content for you guys every single day. And with that, guys, this has been Centurion. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.